Hello and welcome. I am so glad you're here. And I am so excited to announce that not only is this season 3 of the Boss Body podcast, but it's also my 100th episode. And I just want to thank you so much for all of you who have been faithful listeners. And I want to welcome you if you are new to the podcast. I have so much wonderful things in store for you this year. I have some amazing guests lined up, and I know that you are going to love it. And I just want to say that I appreciate you, and I'm so honored that you allow me to be a part of your life. So, in honor of my 100th episode, I'm tackling a subject that I know so many women can relate to, and that is body confidence and self love. Recently, I came across a statistic that said 89% of women between the ages of 18 and 35 report that they are dissatisfied with their bodies. In my opinion, that number should be much higher. And if you are like me in midlife, I think that makes it even higher because our bodies are changing and often in ways that we're not so happy about. And I have shared many times on this podcast that I am someone who has struggled with body image my entire life. And so many women I talk to say they feel the same. And that's why I wanted to use this subject for this podcast because I think it is just so important for us to start releasing that and to start learning how to feel good in our bodies, how to love and appreciate and honor our bodies, and how to cultivate that self love, that self worth, and releasing the not enoughness. As you know, nutrition, diet, moving your body, all of those are so important for your overall health. But just as important is your mental and emotional health. And really, it's that inner work that is the foundation for becoming healthy. Because if you are not feeling enough, if you are constantly criticizing yourself, then you aren't going to feel motivated. You're not going to feel positive. You're not going to want to take positive actions. So it's always bringing you down, it's always keeping you stuck. And so I want to talk to you today about how you can start doing that inner work to start cultivating that body confidence and that self love. I've gotten asked before about my title, which is Women's Weight Release and Body Love Coach. And it's been pointed out to me that a lot of women feel that those two are contradictory because if you're looking to release the weight, does that mean you don't love your body? And if you're wanting to change your body, doesn't that mean that you don't love it? And if you're trying to release weight, does that mean that you're not honoring yourself? You are just trying to fit into some kind of mold that society has told you you need to fit into? And most of the women that I meet say things like, I just want to feel good in my body. I want to have energy. I want to move around freely. I want to age well. I want to be able to do everything that I want to do in my life. I want to play with my kids, my grandkids. I want to be able to hike. I want to be able to travel. But we also want to feel confident. We want to feel good in our bodies. We want to feel good when we put on clothes and when we get dressed and go out into the world. And I want to say that there is nothing wrong with that either. You can release that shame over actually wanting to release weight or feel more confident in your body. the body positive movement has so much good. And I think it's wonderful that we are starting to make a shift toward that in our culture. But at the same time, I feel like it's made a lot of us think that we're not allowed to say we want our body to change. We have to word it as I just want to get healthy. And yes, we do want to get healthy, but we also want to feel confident. And even animals in the wild want to look their best to attract a mate or to elevate their status in the community. So that is a natural instinct in a living being. Birds decorate their nests. They puff up their feathers. Peacocks open their tails. Lions fluff up their mane, and they go up to the highest rock possible. They try to look taller or bigger or whatever that is. And it's okay for us to want to do that too. When people ask me about that, I'll often equate it to why do you wear makeup then and dress nicely? Should you be ashamed of that? Should you not want to look nice? No. So we want to release that shame, but there's also a big mindset shift that needs to happen. And that is you do not have to release the weight before you can start loving your body. And actually, it needs to happen the opposite way. You need to learn to love, to respect, to nourish your body right now as it is. And in doing so, you will feel emotionally lighter. You'll feel more joyful. You will want to care for your body. You will be more motivated. And you will start building those healthy habits, and you're so much more likely to stick with them. Now, we're not born thinking that our bodies need to be changed or that we're not good enough. I saw a video online where they interviewed a bunch of children and they said, if you could change one thing about your body, what would you change? And a lot of them had to think a long time. They were like, And one little girl said, I like my body actually. And she said, but maybe if I had a mermaid tail. And another little boy was like, well, I could be able to run really, really fast like a superhero. So it's not even on your radar as you're when you're young that anything physically, aesthetically needs to be changed. We're not born that way. But something happens over time that starts to change that perception that we have of ourselves. A lot of us are bullied for looking different than others, or for being heavier than others, or taller, or developing sooner, whatever it is. Our peers notice, and that sticks with us. Other examples could be in school when the popular girls are constantly praised for how pretty they are. And then you don't notice that happening for you. So you decide, I'm not as good as them. I don't look as good as them. I'm not as valuable as they are because they're getting these comments and I'm not. And then there's comments from teachers and authority figures, parents, whatever it is. And those comments really stick with it. And we hear it over and over and over again, either out loud or in our heads. And we start to believe that. We start to believe that that is the gospel truth. And if our family says things to us, like parents, aunts, uncles, whatever, and if our mom says things about herself, I wish I didn't have this belly, or I need to go back on my diet. And then we hear other things like comments of someone saying, don't eat too much. You don't want to end up looking like Aunt so and so, or, oh, it's such a shame you're not tall and slim like your mother, or too bad you take after your dad's side of the family with our big bones. And we absorb those messages, and then it starts becoming, it's almost like brainwashing. It's like a broken record that goes around in our minds over and over again. And then it gets worse during puberty because everyone's commenting on your bodies and its changes. And then we start having relationships, partners who can hone in on those weaknesses. They know you have that insecurity, and they know if they push those buttons, if they make those comments, that will that will put us into a more docile position, and it will elevate them so that they have more control. And that reinforces the idea that you're, again, you are being told that you're not lovable, you're not attractive, whatever. And then that's not to mention, we all know the social media, the magazines, paparazzi, they're pointing out any little cellulite or flaw on a movie star. And the message that we're getting is women need to look perfect at all times. They'll be saying something like, oh, she hasn't lost her baby weight yet, or, is that a baby bump I see? And, it's always that underlying message that if your value is in the way that you look. And if you don't look good, we're going to notice it, we're going to mention it, and that means you're not as good as whoever, XYZ. And intellectually, we know it's not true. We know there's no such thing as a perfect body. We know there's airbrushed and photoshopped, and that is not attainable for 99.9% of women. And yet, social media, movies, magazines, society constantly is telling us otherwise. And so no matter what we achieve, the bar always gets moved higher and higher and higher because we're comparing ourselves to this non-existent idea of perfection. And as long as we're doing that, it will ensure that we will never be able to get there. I want to give you one absolute truth, and that is that getting to a certain weight, getting to a certain number on the scale or a certain size is not necessarily going to make you happy. It's not necessarily going to make your relationships better or your life better. I can tell you that I've been at different sizes throughout my life. I have been slim and athletic. I have carried a little extra weight after pregnancy, when I've had difficult periods in my life, just like everybody else. And just because you're at a certain weight doesn't mean that everything's falling into place. We see these videos of Victoria's Secret models frolicking in the ocean and hanging out together and smiling and laughing. And so the impression we get is, oh, if you look this way, you feel loved, you feel enough, you feel joy, your life will feel a certain way. And so it's not necessarily, we think it's the weight that we're trying to achieve, but what we're really trying to achieve is the feeling and the life that we think we'll have if we release the weight. And so instead of starting with the weight, where we need to start is how to cultivate those feelings that we are looking for, feeling worthy, feeling enough, feeling lovable, having the life we want, the relationships we want right now, instead of trying to change ourselves first and thinking that we'll get what we want after we've become who we think we should be. When I use the term body love, I know that that can feel like a real stretch for a lot of us. It can feel impossible, especially if you've had a tortured relationship with your body for a very long time. So, an entry point that feels much more appropriate to us is to start with body respect. So, respecting your body doesn't mean that you have to feel like you love it right off the bat, because you're not going to go from 0 to 100 all in one step, right? You're not going to go from hating on your body to loving it all at once. And so, starting with the idea of learning to respect your body, which simply means that you treat your body with dignity and you do things to honor its needs. And so I want to give you a few tools so that you can start building that connection and that respect with your body, which will eventually turn into body love. And the first suggestion that I have for you is having gratitude for your body for everything that it does for you. So, if you've been a follower of mine for a while, you know that I'm a breast cancer survivor. And in the process of my treatments, I went through chemotherapy, radiation, a double mastectomy, and several reconstruction surgeries. And throughout that process, my body has changed a lot. I have a lot of scars and I wasn't able to do all the things that I normally do for my body. I wasn't able to eat the same way that I want. I wasn't able to definitely not able to exercise the way that I want. And so I came out the other side looking and feeling a lot different. Luckily, I am cancer free almost 5 years now, so I'm celebrating that. And I am also celebrating my body for carrying me through all the treatments that I needed to go through in order to rid my body of the cancer. If I hadn't given my body what it needed and cared for it and loved it, I wouldn't have been able to withstand the treatments. And now that I'm on the other side, my body is so resilient. It has bounced back. I have been able to rebuild my health again from the ground up. I'm strong. I'm energetic. I feel powerful. Yes, my body looks different. I carry scars. I'm getting older. I have wrinkles. I have stretch marks. I have cellulite, all of those things. But I actually love and appreciate my body now more than I did before the cancer journey because I am so amazed by the body's strength and resilience and the fact that your body continues to do its best for you. You continue to be able to take one step in front of the other every day and do the things you want to do. Your hands, you're able to work and cook and everything, carry things. Your arms, you can hug, you can hold. Your legs take you from point A to point B. So your body is there supporting you day in and day out, and it deserves gratitude for that. And the second thing you can do is let your body know that you appreciate it. First of all, that means meeting its basic needs, feeding it adequately, getting enough sleep, staying hydrated. But above that is doing nice things for yourself. Simple self-care activities. That could be taking a bubble bath, doing some kind of light physical activity, or just going outside, relaxing, listening to when your body is tired, when you need a break, when you need a nap, when you need to go to bed early. And also, I really think that one of the things that is missing for us is physical touch. Your body needs and deserves soothing touch. And now that can mean getting a massage or simply hugging. I read a statistic that said if you get 3 hugs a day, your your joy, your positivity elevates by, astronomical percent. And so that's one of the things that I say to my kids. They're in college now, but when they're home, I say, okay, I need my 3 hugs today. And one other thing you can do is pay attention to parts of your body that aren't touched often, like your hands and your feet, which work so hard for you, but show them some love. Maybe just a simple hand massage for yourself and some lotion when you are sitting and watching TV. We're so disconnected from our bodies. We have learned to push through and work hard and get in a zone and ignore hunger, ignore thirst, ignore being tired. And that's created a disconnect with our body. And so, in doing these easy, simple self care activities, you can reclaim that connection, start hearing it, and start honoring its needs. And if you don't know where to start, all you need to do is sit back and ask your body, what can I do for you right now that would feel good? And then do that. My third suggestion is to work on the concept of zooming out. So we often zoom in, right? We're hyper focused on the areas of our body that we're most uncomfortable with, whether that's the cellulite or the spare tire love handles, menopause middle, wrinkles, whatever that is. We hyper focus on that and it gets blown up in our minds and we start to identify that with this is who I am. So instead, when you notice yourself hyper focusing on those things, zoom out, step back, and look at the full picture of yourself. You're not just legs, you're not just a stomach, you're a whole human. And start acknowledging you for who you are outside of just your physical appearance. Your physical body is external, it's just what we're using to move through life in. Who we really are is what are your strengths? Are you intelligent, hardworking, compassionate, creative? What do you bring to your relationships? Are you a good mom? Do you care for your family? How do you show up for your romantic relationships and for your friends and at your career? What are your gifts that you're bringing into the world? Because that is who you really are. So, in those moments when you find yourself zooming in, step back, zoom out, and look at the broader picture of you as a whole. The fourth thing, and this is a biggie, is to work on quieting that inner critic voice in your head. And that inner critic has been there for a long time. As I mentioned before, it comes from our peers, from our parents, family of origin, from people, authoritative figures, from relationships that we've had. And all those messages keep getting repeated in our minds. And we don't even notice it anymore. We think it comes from us and we think it's a fact. And what's really happening is that is becoming your mantra. That is becoming the way that you look at yourself. And so the first thing is to pay attention. Just become aware of what are you saying to yourself every single day when you look in the mirror. And then secondly, ask yourself, is this a fact or is this actually opinion? And spoiler alert, it's an opinion. It is not a fact. And then start asking yourself, where did this opinion come from? Who or what does this sound like? Why is this ingrained in my mind as a truth? And then think about if someone you love came to you who was saying these things to themselves over and over and over again. Someone you love dearly, your child, your niece, a sibling, a close friend. If they were saying these cruel, horrible things to themselves, what would you say to them? And write that out on a piece of paper. And then write that same thing in first person. I am whatever. Whatever it is that you would say to someone you love is the actual truth. And that is the actual truth as it will apply to you as well. And the last tool for creating more love and connection with yourself and with your body that I want to share with you is to create new mantras. So instead of that harsh inner critic, cruel thing, creating new things that you say to yourself and that are repeated day after day and that you can actually believe. We hear the using positive mantras a lot, and sometimes that can feel kind of corny, kind of not believable. So you're not going to go from saying, I hate my body, I look terrible in this outfit, I'm too fat, to my body's beautiful. I love my body so much, because that's not going to be believable to you. It feels very superficial, and that's not going to sink in. So start with something that is believable. Something like, I am capable of honoring my body's needs, and I commit to working towards that. Or I'm doing my best to learn to listen to and reconnect with my body. My body doesn't need to look like anyone else's to be worthy of care and respect. My body is unique, and that is normal. I deserve to feel confident in my body. And little by little, you will create different brain pathways. You will create a different mantra and different beliefs about yourself and your body. Start showing up for your body and notice how different you feel when you start treating it with respect and kindness. And then, often, as a happy side effect of having that positive relationship with your body, you'll start to become physically healthier, stronger, and the weight will start releasing. Because instead of punishing yourself with dieting and exercises, which bring you down, they don't make you feel encouraged because it's really not sustainable. And then you feel guilty for cycling right back to where you started and repeating that cycle over and over again and feeling worse and worse each time. Instead, start with the self-care. Start with the body respect, and you'll end up feeling lighter, more joyful, more motivated, and you'll start taking better care of yourself. And I just want to leave you with this, and that is, this is going to take time. If you've been this way for a long time, it's not going to turn around in a week. All right. This is a practice. This is something that I practice constantly. And those messages, that brainwashing that we've received, is always going to be there a little bit. So be patient and be compassionate and be kind to yourself. Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you soon.